Hey, so how do you feel when somebody's trying to sell you? I've asked this question a lot to a lot of clients, to a lot of people at workshops and seminars. And it's interesting when you ask, how do you feel when somebody's trying to sell you something? Everybody feels the same way. I hate being sold. Like, don't try to sell me. What's interesting is we all want to have people buy from us. So when you flip it and you ask, okay, so if you don't like being sold, how do you feel when you now have to turn around and sell someone? And almost everybody feels the same way. It's like, well, I don't like being sold. I certainly don't like that feeling of now having to turn around and trying to sell someone else. So, this is the purpose of this video. What I want you to consider is if you don't like that feeling, emotions are picked up through a vibration, right? Call it your facial expression or your tone of voice. People will pick up on that. So if you don't like the feeling of being sold, stop selling. And I know that sounds completely counterintuitive. Hear me out. The important part about this is building rapport, being able to just have a conversation with someone. So instead of trying so hard to sell and to sell and to sell, stop selling and create conversation. I would much rather have a conversation with someone, be able to build a relationship with them, and really figure out, can I help you? What can I do to serve? And as we have this conversation, you start to realize that, hey, you know what? They're now compelled to want to pull out their credit card and give me money. Why? Because now I've been able to show that I can serve. Because before all of that, I've asked questions. What are the biggest challenges that they're running into? What does that feel like for them? I get a sense of explaining and understanding. And this is the key. Instead of trying to sell, let's just understand. If you're leading with empathy, what do you think happens? People are heard. So if you don't like being sold, where somebody's just trying to push and push and push and be pitchy, I'm with you. So other people will call it a PC, right? A perfect consultation. I don't even want you to think of it from that perspective. What I'd like for you to do is flip it on its head and let's create attractiveness in the sense of a buying conversation. So, how do I get somebody to buy from me? Think of it from this perspective. I like to, even from the beginning, if I'm going to set up an appointment, I want to be able to build rapport. So, how do you build rapport? One of my favorite things, for example, is I love to watch movies. So, on an intake form, I'll say, hey, just for fun, 3 words that absolutely open up the floodgates of conversation. Hey, just for fun, what are your top 3 favorite movies? So, what's interesting is now I have my intake form of somebody booking an appointment with me, and then they tell me what their top 3 favorite movies are. Well, now I get into conversation with them, and I'd be like, hey, Jim, great to meet you. So, you know what? It's interesting that you mentioned these movies. Just curious. And then you get to have a conversation about things that you both relate to. It doesn't have to be about business, work, pricing, and all of this stuff that, listen, people are always going to be guarded. It's just no different than going on a holiday and then people say to you, hey, just sit down for this 2-hour presentation and we're going to give you something for free. And you know exactly what's happening. People are trying to sell you a timeshare, and they're relentless. None of that is really something that anybody wants to go and take advantage of. I mean, no matter what the freebie is, we all know here comes the pitch and they're relentless. So doesn't it make sense to be able to turn around and go, listen, I just want to have a conversation with you and see if we can actually be a good fit. So stop selling, start listening. Put together a list of questions. Find out about the person first, building rapport. If you can build rapport with someone, then you can at least build a relationship. And even if you don't have that person buy from you at that very moment, it's okay. Go in with the intent that I'm building a friendship first. If I can make a friend today, I'm likely going to be able to help them tomorrow. Start with that, because if you feel that way, you're definitely going to be able to help yourself and help them and create a win-win. So if you can come up with ways of how do I build rapport? What are rapport building questions that I could come up with? It could be, for example, right before recording this, I was having a conversation with our producer about hockey games. And both of us were starting to laugh and find out how long the overtime periods were. And it was like, oh my God, there's 4 overtime periods. And these are things, the minute that you can figure out where I can build a common bond, that's where it can flow into, okay, let's get down to business and let's talk about this. I don't want to get somebody on a conversation where it's just immediately jumping into that abrasive kind of friction feeling of they're trying to sell me something. And I would much rather be in that driver's seat where I even hear from the person that I'm having a conversation with where they're saying, oh, so tell me what you got. Like, isn't it great when you have somebody actually say to you, so what should I get? Because now you're in that position of trust. See, people don't care about how much you know until they know about how much you care. So consider that. Stop selling, create a buying conversation. See you in the next video.